and I've built hundreds of massive businesses, and me making $1 million by the end of the year is pretty much a sure thing. And that's what you want. That's why your mastermind has to be very curated, because that's the key. Because if this is my third exit and I have all this cash and I know it's going to happen, you might feel that you are not in the right room because I'm moving so much more quickly. And that speed to goal, I think, is something that is very rarely considered.
Welcome to 7 to 8, our special series on 7 to 8 figure entrepreneurs. In this special series, I interview $1 million, some $10 million, and even some $1 million business owners who uncovered their twists and turns in their entrepreneurial adventure in order to help you to avoid the potholes and stick to the fast track. Welcome now to center stage, our next special guest. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedlek, and I am super glad that you're here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Liz. Liz, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a delight.
Awesome. So give everybody the highlight of who you are and what you do for business.
Well, I'm a business strategist, and I help people grow their businesses by running masterminds, because masterminds are fabulous.
Awesome. So how did you get into masterminds as your thing?
Well, my background is in film, which is an extremely collaborative world filled full of people who were paid a lot of money to be right. And my job was to run big teams of people who were paid to be right so that they didn't rip lumps out of each other. And from there, as a strategist, I learned how to grow businesses, how to manage large budgets, and masterminds help everybody perform better and to have more fun while they do it.
Nice. So when you say masterminds, let's get into the semantics of that. What do you mean by that? And what is the ideal scenario of a mastermind?
So I believe masterminds are small groups. You will have heard the word used, in my opinion, incorrectly many times. There are a lot of things that are labeled masterminds that aren't. So it's a small group. And in that group, you can ask questions. You have what we call a hot seat, where you and the rest of the group will give thought towards your big idea that will be led by someone. And there's two ways you can run masterminds. You can run them online, but I think for really high flyers, the best type of mastermind is when you go away for a weekend and for 2 or 3 days, you really focus, 10, maybe 15 of you, and you really focus. And part of the joy of a mastermind is that you're getting your questions answered, but you're also hearing other people get their questions answered. Being in the right room, we know this. When you're in the right room, you are learning a lot. You see how people grow. And it is incredibly powerful. There are very few places in business that you can really ideate correctly at the right level. Your family love you. Maybe your business partners still speak to you, but there is nowhere where you can really dig into, this is where I am right now, totally honestly. And here is the question that if nobody is ever going to know about it, this is the question I want help with. And there are very few places where you can be that raw.
Well, I have a very biased opinion of masterminds because I absolutely love Napoleon Hill. I love the idea of a triple bounded court, and I live in that philosophy. And so when you say a small group of people, what do you mean by that?
So online, I think 6 people is probably the best, plus the coach. I think in person, you can go sort of 10, 15, maybe 20 if you're there for more than 30 seconds in person, because we can read each other's body language much more easily. Online, 6 to 8 people at most. I have run masterminds for other people. Sometimes they have a lot of people in them. If you really genuinely want a proper answer to things, you need enough time where people aren't just going to blurt the first answer that comes to their head. No matter how high caliber the people in the mastermind are, we need more than 30 seconds to give an answer. So smaller groups and longer time is important.
Nice. Well, and it'll be my last reference, I promise people. In Napoleon Hill's mastermind, it is vitally important that these people have a connected interest to the final goal. How important is that to you and your masterminds, and how much on the same train track do they have to be, or do they just have to be going the same direction?
Well, I think it's slightly more than that. It's not just that we need to be moving towards the same sorts of goals. We need to be at the same position in our businesses. You can't have newbies in amongst super senior people, or if you can, both of them are going to be unhappy about it. But you also want to be moving to the goal at the same speed. So if you and I were hitting a goal of an extra million by the end of the year, and you're at 900,000 and we've still got 6 months to go, you are cruising very slowly towards that goal, and it's a certainty. If I haven't made $1 in my business yet, that's a big ask. So we are not moving at the same speed. I am probably scrambling to do that, unless this is my third exit and I've built hundreds of massive businesses, and me making $1 million by the end of the year is pretty much a sure thing. And that's what you want. That's why your mastermind has to be very curated, because that's the key. Because if this is my third exit and I have all this cash and I know it's going to happen, you might feel that you are not in the right room because I'm moving so much more quickly. And that speed to goal, I think, is something that is very rarely considered when people are putting groups together. So you need to be at a similar level. You need to have the same speed to goal, or at least similar. I don't think you need to be in the same industry. I think you can actually learn a lot from people who are directly opposite you. I know in my business, I have learned the most from hearing people who run 6- and 7-star hotels talking about the customer experience and how you guarantee that. So as you can probably tell, I am not a luxury hotel owner. So we can learn a lot from people who aren't the same as us, but we need that speed to goal.
Nice. So as we were talking about earlier in the green room, the audience for this show happens to be equally devised between 5 groups broken up between startups and $100 million businesses, which is a substantial. This podcast is an example of what not to do in a mastermind group. But can masterminds be as effective for people that are starting up going, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Are you going to get a whole bunch of, I don't know what you should do in the room? And likewise, in the $100 million space, are they going to be going, well, you should know what to do? Like, when does this become most beneficial, or is it beneficial for all? And tell me how.
Obviously, I'm a mastermind evangelist. I think it's beneficial for everybody, but I think they're completely different use cases. If you are a newbie, completely brand new, there is a definite case for somewhere that is going to keep you all accountable. And the sorts of questions that you want to be asking there are, what would you do in this situation? And if the questions you're asking is, what would I do in super specific use case that everyone else doesn't know anything about, then the curator of that group, the mastermind coach, is not doing a good job. They should have helped you get a better question, because the underlying question might be one about staffing, HR, how do I sell stuff? It's a different issue. So there are those accountability masterminds, but I think the really high-end masterminds, the ones where people are paying enormous sums of money, and some of them can be 200 grand a year easily, they pay that because to be surrounded by people who are at the same level as you, but do not think in the same way as you, that's where you can get a space to ideate. Because as mentioned, there are very few places where you can roll in and say, yeah, so emotionally, I know this is a good idea, but what would you do if this was your position?
Absolutely. Because I've seen it when the newbies are like, but I'm terrified to do this. And then I go, oh yeah, I did that last week, but it really worked. And it was like last week. That's okay. It's totally cool. And then at the same time, I have these people that have started and sold $100 million businesses, but they buy and sell them. And then somebody goes, well, why do you keep selling them? Why don't you just have, 8 or 9 of them? And it's like, I guess I could have 8 or 9 because they all run without them. And it's all kind of, it's just a different way of looking at it. Why don't you buy an island to be able to curate those, those meetings so that you're not having to deal with all that stuff. And when you're at that level, dealing with all the stuff, the paparazzi, the people, the followers, the tech, the eavesdropping, the whatevers. And it just kind of makes sense to go, oh yeah, I could buy an island and we could all meet over there. Like it's a totally different. And you may go, oh, hey, we could run our meetings off site. That'd be a great idea. You might be able to exacerbate those kind of ideas from it, but it really does become you're when you're dealing with people that have kind of similar issues, not the same, but similar issues, and have the capacity and resources that you do. Understanding it's not, to me, it's not a better or less than scenario. It's how many resources do you know that you have access to, and you know how to utilize them. Talk to me.
Absolutely. I also think there is a lot to be said for we can't see our own problems in the same way as other people can. You know, the way you can look at your friend and think, you should not be dating that person. It is so clear from the outside. Well, it's also true about your own business. On the inside, just as you can't tell what's wrong with your love life, you know there's something, but you can't quite put your finger on it, and everybody else can. For that moment, in your marketing or in your staffing, other people will give you that 360 view. And I think we have that. We have blind spots in so many ways. A mastermind that is beautifully curated will give you that extra vision from people that you trust, who are at the same level as you, who actually know what you're dealing with. I think there are so few places on the planet where you can get that.
So when it comes to a mastermind and kind of being able to build, have you noticed that, is it just an emotional, I don't want to say dumping ground. Is it a place where you have the space to be able to have an emotional reaction to the things that are going on in you? Is it just an idea building place? Does it actually increase your profitability and your resources? And if so, why? Give me all those benefits.
All of the above, really. So if you are in a mastermind, just a wonderful member of a wonderful group, you are suddenly, say there's 10 people in there, you have 10 times the resources, you have 10 times the brain power. It's like having 10 extra lobes on your brain. One of the things I see all the time in masterminds is that as the group grows together, if you have a great coach, obviously, if you have somebody who's shown you how to do that, if you have a group that is well cohesive and well put together, then people begin to think about the other person's business as much as their own, which sounds dreadful at first. I have no time for this. But when you do it, suddenly it frees up your own mind to think about your own business in a completely new way. One of the things I see most often is someone in a mastermind will be giving advice to one of the other members, and they will pause in the middle of this beautifully modulated, delightful, well thought out piece of advice, and will stop and say, oh, I should probably do that in my business, eh? Yes, you should. That is super important. And that thinking around it is the moment where you can suddenly see, going back to our dating metaphor, you can suddenly see, oh, it's them, isn't it? It's not me, it's them. Yes, it is.
I love it. So if somebody's thinking like, I would love to do this, but I know, 5 people that I really want to do this with. I'm not really sure I want to bring a coach in, but if we have to, and isn't that going to kind of ruin the group? How do you work with that, and how do you modulate that, I guess?
Well, true, you don't have to have a coach to do it. But the trouble with free masterminds is they tend to fizzle out quite quickly because your curation, as we have mentioned repeatedly, is the key. And what we tend to do with our free masterminds is, I like Dave and I like Tanisha, and obviously we're all free on a Tuesday afternoon. Let's do the show right here on the beach every Tuesday. That's not a good reason to be in a mastermind. You want people that are at the same level, same speed as we talked about, but also completely different opinions to you. If you're only making a mastermind out of your chums, then you're going to get the same answers you would have got if you'd asked them at a cocktail bar, what do you think they would do? You want people who are different, but you also want people who are in it for the long haul. And unfortunately, I have seen this many times. You can absolutely run a free mastermind with no trouble at all. You don't have to get anyone else involved, but you need to curate who's in there very carefully, and you need to get a commitment that they're going to be there for a while. Otherwise, they tend to fizzle out in a blaze of indifference after about 3 months. It's tragic.
Right. And it really is a blaze of indifference. I just can't make it this time. Oh, well, sorry, something came up. And and eventually it's gone. So what are some of the other kind of issues that you see happening with masterminds, either your pet peeves or just kind of, it's kind of melodramatic, but it happens?
Well, again, if they're not well curated, I have to précis this with everything. If it's a bad mastermind, if it's a mastermind gone wrong, you will find that there is one voice louder than all the others, who does what I think of as should all overs people. You should do this, you should do that. That's not how a mastermind works. As with any of us, we want advice that lifts us up. And before you're in a mastermind that's good, there is this feeling that it's a place to ask questions and to be seen and to really be able to be honest. Once you're in a good mastermind, you realize that a lot of the things that are really superb about the group are the moments where you might not have the most obvious question. When you think, I don't actually need anything this week, but I would love your thoughts on so and so. At that point, people will tell you stuff. Again, if it's encouraged, if you're in that kind of space, people will tell you stuff it never occurred to you that you needed to hear. And the thing I hear most often is it's those little moments, those moments where people say, yeah, it's been a really tough year for you, hasn't it? But you've turned up, and I appreciate that. Every week, here you are doing the thing. I see you. And it sounds like, why would I pay for that? But it makes such a difference, because it's about having your peers see you and that safe space. And it feels like something, I'm big, I'm important, I make lots of cash. Why would I need that? Even more than everyone else at that level, who else is going to tell you? Like winning a little shiny award, that's nice, but that's not actually going to grow your business. I think it's important to have a space where you can really show up and go, you know that thing I said I'd do? It was awful.
Absolutely. One of the best moments I've had in masterminds is actually the moments between the moments, because you get somebody in the hot seat and you're thinking about the thing and you're like, okay, well, yeah, I got my obvious answers for that. But then something about it starts mulling around in your brain, and then, lunch hits or whatever. And you're like, hey, come over here. I've been thinking about this thing. I think I got something for you, but I need some clarity on it. It's those lunch meetings and or the spaces in between that we can really come up with some phenomenal ideas. Like we've blueprinted people's businesses in those lunch meetings. And I don't know if I can say it often enough. There's a cliche about having a business plan on a napkin, but so many times, like that's where they happen. And it's like, that is brilliant. I am totally going to run with that. And people have ran with that and made tons. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right. I've seen it so many times as well. And I think there's something about being in that space where you are creatively, consciously all leaning in together. It's that Napoleon Hill idea that when a bunch of people think about the same thing, there is that greater mind there. Not to get too esoteric about it, but when we all concentrate on something, it frees up the rest of our brain to go, you know what? I've got a few ideas bouncing from that. So important.
Right. Well, and it's so much fun too, because people, no matter what, will have different experiences and different, backgrounds to be able to draw on that and go, oh, there was this one moment in my business 25 years ago when, and it's like all of a sudden that becomes light bulb moment for this moment that then sets off this domino effect of ideas. And it's just so much fun to watch. Are there any, what's your absolute favorite part of a mastermind?
I think the fact that to see a group bond bit by bit, that's lovely. I used to say that there's one of the secrets of masterminds is you sign up to grow your business, mostly if they're business masterminds, you sign up to grow your business, and what you actually get is a bunch of lifetime friends. It's like the secret prize inside the cracker of the mastermind. But I think the thing is that being validated for such a long time, it is so good for not your ego, but your self-esteem, which, as we know, are completely different. But that feeling, that little inner voice, you learn to trust yourself even more. To be successful, you've had to do that all along. To suddenly have a bunch of people going, what are you thinking? Don't do that. Trust yourself. Super important.
I love it. I also particularly love that there are a handful of people that actually live in my city that I've only ever seen on other parts of the planet. We get together for a mastermind, like, oh my God, it's family reunion. I love you guys. And then we live, 20 blocks from each other and I never see them. So it is an awesome, awesome event. So I know our listeners are going to want more from you. How did they start that journey with you?
Well, if you go to rethinkcentral.com/Michelle, you will find a lot of information about masterminds.
Nice. I love it. We will, of course, have all of Liz's links in the show notes. So go ahead and click on the links, open up in a new browser because we're not done yet. So Liz, I get to ask you, at what point in life did you know you were special, kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
When I was about 16 or 17, I started. This is a shameful story, or a positively Phoenix-like thing. I'm not sure, but I started selling jewelry in my local awful rock club, and the only place I could sell it. This was to pay for all of my underage drinking, and taxis to and from the horrible 1980s rock place. And I made jewelry, and I used to slide into the ladies' loos and sell jewelry. I know this is a funny question, but while you're in here, would you like to buy some jewelry? And I used to make enough cash as a 16 to 17-year-old to cover all of my underage drinking for Fridays and Saturdays, cabs to and from, cost of materials, and would make a whole bunch of friends there. I was weirdly successful at it. I eventually went on to train as a jeweler, so it was actual proper business. But gradually, the club was called Stairways, and every bit as sticky as that sounds. It was unpleasant in all degrees. But I became known as the girl from the toilets at Stairways. This is not branding that I wanted. This is not what people used to rush up to me.
That is branding, girl. That is branding.
It's horrendous. People would rush up to me on a Tuesday and go, "Have you got any earrings on you?" No, I haven't. And that was the moment I'm like, this doesn't seem good. But it was when my friends said, you do realize, Liz, and I really want you to think about this. You go to the bathroom on a Friday night and you come out with new friends and much more money. And I'm like, oh yeah, the optics are awful on that. So yes, you are speaking to the girl from the toilets at Stairways.
That is awesome. I love that. That is a niche, people. That's niche right there. There's a whole other business conversation going on right now. Awesome. Liz, you've been absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I know how valuable it is.
Thank you for having me. It's been a giggle.
Awesome. Peeps, this is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow. Thank you for listening to 7 to 8. If you're interested in upping your speaking game, be sure to connect with our guests with the links in the show notes and connect with me to see how we can help you get your tech done for you and help your speaking dreams come true.